All right, let's just jump right into the moist meter. The moist meter, Charlie's video on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I have not seen yet. I will be watching it within the next few days, hopefully. Hopefully, by my next stream, I will have seen it. I heard it was great, and I'm really excited to watch his review. He doesn't do spoilers, so I am excited. I'm excited. So we'll just jump right into it. I'm really excited. I'm telling you, this has been the best animated movie in the last decades.
The Moist Meter is a proud partner of our comic book series Godslap and Plague Seeker. Both are available at badegg.co, link in the description. Welcome to the
Spider-Verse does something so special. You see, listen, I know that we just talked about the Ariel thing right before this on the stream, and how, like, you know, the Little Mermaid is now a black actress and stuff and all that, and people complain about it. Let me explain to you something. It is not racist to not like the Little Mermaid, because the Little Mermaid was ass. No one's complaining about Spider-Verse, the fact that the main character is a black kid, because Spider-Verse is amazing. It's almost like the quality of the show or the movie dictates whether people like it or not, and it has nothing to do with race at all. It's almost as if that's the case. Wow! Crazy nuclear take here, guys.
The Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at the new Spider-Man movie, Across the Spider-Verse. Now, the first movie, Into the Spider-Verse, is one of my favorite animated films of all time.
Incredibly based.
That movie is a real special butterfly. That's one of the very, very unique instances where a film comes out that legitimately innovates in its genre,
Literally.
like pushes it to new limits that were previously thought impossible. Kind of like what The Matrix did 20-some years ago, where it had this new element that hadn't really been seen before, and is...
Yeah, The Matrix was kind of cringe. Like, The Matrix was really cool when the first one came out, and then they took a hiatus, and then The Matrix became really cool again when they got Andrew Tate locked up in prison. I'm kidding. I'm trying to joke. It's
now been emulated a ton since. That's what Into the Spider-Verse did. It dragged us fucking kicking and screaming into the future of what animation can look like, and it was beautiful.
It was.
It's kind of like what the Fosbury flop did for the high jump, right? Like, it legitimately kind of changed the perception of what was possible in the genre
experience.
For animation here. So, Across the Spider-Verse had some very big shoes to fill, and I'm happy to say it filled those shoes like a cavity. This is an extraordinary...
I'm so excited to watch this movie.
Follow-up, and somehow manages to once again elevate in animation. It is so beautiful. There is not a single second that goes by in this movie that isn't jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Every frame is a beautiful masterpiece of art. It's unreal just how good this movie looks. But it's not just style with no substance. This movie really doesn't bring you a ton of action off rip. Like, there is a lot of course, action, but it actually puts a big focus on its narrative and its characters. And even when characters are just talking to each...
Oh, and I'll have you know, Spider-Girl over there, dude, she has taken over the Rule 34 boards. I do my my occasional browsing just to make sure I'm still in the know, you know, guys? Just to make sure I'm still, like, in the loop.
Each other. Not only is the writing super tight, somehow just conversations feel like anime montage moments. They'll have, like, these damn near hand-painted moments where a character like Gwen is talking to her father, and the background's just constantly changing. Just these like dynamic backgrounds that have evolving art that really like makes the conversations feel like action moments sometimes. It's
so much better than, you know, the average back and forth between anime characters with like the line in between.
So cool. So now let's talk about the story, because I think they did a great job with the narrative here. It didn't feel like super familiar from the first film, where it just felt like they phoned it in and just did what worked in the first film again. You know, like an encore performance, you know, a King Neptune moment from SpongeBob Where it's like, oh, that Krabby Patty tastes so good, I'd want to eat it a second time, and then just fucking regurgitate it. This movie doesn't fall into that trap. It delivers a story that feels really at home with where the first movie leaves off.
Oh, that's just so good.
And now they have a new tool they can get even more creative with, which is the multiverse. It's now no longer this big mysterious thing in the world. They can get very silly with how they use it and make some absolutely dreamlike sequences.
See, that's how you make a sequel. When you make a sequel, you build on the first one and expand the things that were, like, curious about it. It is not about seeing success and churning out a reskin on the same exact thing.
As well. So, they have a lot more Spider-Men come into the fold here, a whole goddamn society of them. So you're going to get a lot of Easter eggs and cameos, but it doesn't feel like too campy or too cheap, where they're banking off just like nostalgia for some of the cameos they throw in here or references. It's used in a clever way. I'm trying not to get into spoilers here, but
it's Rick and Morty, but Spider-Man. Tell me less!
Love how they've used the multiverse in this movie and made it a very strong narrative tool, as well as, of course, a tool to give you a bunch of other different animation mediums, because a lot of Spider-Man are animated differently in the multiverse.
Which is such a cool gimmick. I love that.
So you'll have some that are like damn near claymation at some points, right? Like you have wacky ways that they portray some of the Spider-Man, but they use it in a way that's not just like point and be like, I get that reference. Don't get me wrong, that shit is absolutely there, but it's not like egregious, and it does serve a purpose in the story itself. I also love the villain in this movie. He starts as just like a goofball, throwaway stinker of a character who's like trying to rob an ATM, and Miles isn't taking him super seriously, so he's kind of like beating his ass while he's texting on the phone because he's late for a meeting at school. And then that character just keeps snowballing into an extremely powerful villain.
That is my favorite villain trope ever. On the one hand, I love the really overpowered villain with the tragic backstory and all that. Like, that's one of my favorite villain tropes. One of my other favorite villain tropes, the dude that started with nothing. The dude that started off as a loser, but due to hard work and perseverance, he managed to become a true mad lad.
The guy is the definition of a late game champ. Like, as the movie continues, he himself continues to get stronger. He can throw these little holes that allow him to basically just ascend into a different plane of existence. He has like full mastery of the—
Yeah, after I watch Spider-Verse, I can almost guarantee you I will be making an OP done right video on Spot, because he's such a cool villain.
Multiverse. He can send things and send people, send himself, send different body parts of himself through these holes that just keep breaching into different parts at will. It's super cool. And since the movie is so visually beautiful, it's a lot of fun to watch this villain fight. And even when he's not fighting, just watching him traverse the universe is really cool as well.
I hope you're taking notes. Oh god, what's the dude's name from Dragon Ball Super? Zamasu. Take notes, Zamasu. This is how you traverse multiverses, okay?
I also like his personality, because he's very much a goofball for the most part. He's making quirky little quips as well. Not to like an annoying degree, like where it's grating, but to a degree where it's like, oh, this guy's, you know, it's hard to even like be mad at him, right? Like he's got a sympathetic story, and it's hard to hate him because he's just kind of like a likable nerd. But he's just so powerful too. It's cool. So I really like what they did with the villain. And I really like what they did with Gwen and Miles. So Gwen gets a lot more screen time this time around.
I know, I've been all over Rule 34. I'm telling you, bro, she is killing the game.
You see a lot from her dimension, which is stylistically very different from all the other dimensions you see. Every dimension has its own unique identity, which I really appreciate. So as you
Wait, you mean it's not like Rick and Morty, where they go to a world where there's chairs sitting on human people, and then there's pizza sitting on chair people eating human people?
Visit different dimensions. The visual thumbprint of that—
there's no boob world? What?
World changes, which is cool. Now, Gwen's story is, you know, sad like all other Spider-Man stories. Gwen has a lot of problems that—
she's 15 years old, bro. No. This is a future dimension on Rule 34 where she's actually 18.
She's dealing with her dad thinking that she may have been responsible for something very horrible. She ends up, you know, turning into a multiverse super soldier, leaving all of her problems behind, which abandons her dad. And she wrestles with a lot of tough—
see, I'm not like the other girls. Other superhero girls, their dad abandons them, but not me. I abandoned my dad.
Shit that goes on. And I really think they did a great job with Gwen's character and fleshing out her, as well as the relationship between—
they did a lot of fleshing out. I saw a lot of Gwen flesh right over the last few days.
Between her and Miles. Miles is just an outstanding character. I love everything they do with this character. The writing is amazing. A lot of times when there's like a teenage character going through that like rebellious stage, it's kind of annoying to watch for me personally. But with Miles, he doesn't really have that stage. Like, yeah, there's that, you know, like, fuck you, mom and dad, why can't you just let me grow up kind of shit. But it's handled very differently than the normal tropey way of doing it, which is such a breath of fresh air. I can't stand that shit where it's like that cliche of a teenager.
Preach,
my mom and dad don't understand me.
Preach,
those goobers just don't get it. It's not a phase.
When you have a kid, right? Let's say he's between the age of 10 and 15, and he's arguing with his parents about life decisions. Parents are usually right. Because he's a 12, 13-year-old dude, and he's a fucking idiot. So it gets so annoying when you have all these guys that are like, no, mom and dad, I get to follow my dreams, and then they have to like kind of meet in the middle.
And then that becomes like the whole character's personality. Miles doesn't fall into that at all. It's like the decisions he makes and the way he goes about his journey is very well crafted. He understands where his parents are coming from for the most part. It's just he has to wrestle with the perpetual lying to them about his identity and hiding that huge part of his life from them.
You see, I think that's awesome. See, now that's good writing.
So I just really like all the characters. I love the story. Another thing that I really enjoy is something that the first movie did as well, but they do in this movie even better, which is weaving music into the actual living, breathing nature of the visuals. So the music is integrated so well. Like, you'll have visuals sync up to the songs where you'll just have like all kinds of different moving pieces to an action scene sync up to the music at moments, or as things build up in a crescendo in a song, the visuals start building up with like the animation style starting to blend together and get real fucking wacky. It's so cool. It's so fucking cool. The movie is just beautiful. I absolutely love the film, but I do have a major complaint, and I'm unfortunately not going to be able to dive into it super deep because it's big spoilers. But I do want to scratch the itch and get to it on a base level. So I'm going to talk about it, and it is minor spoilers even going over it, so this is your spoiler warning.
All right, you know what? I don't want to get any major spoiloed, so we will not get spoiler-owed. It complains about being a setup to the next movie. Yeah, listen, if the movie's good and the next movie's also great, then that's very forgivable. I'm so happy Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse isn't freaking... It isn't Boruto to... Dude! Okay, I have to show this to you. This is the wildest thing I've ever seen on Twitter. Yo, it's a dude standing there, just like him. And it's a dude falling into a void, just like him. And it's a boy getting kissed by his mom, just like it. It's a male and a female sitting somewhat beside each other. Bro, y'all just gonna ignore the influence that Boruto had on Spider-Verse? Really? No, bro. Boruto, and a lot of you don't know this, Boruto invented the concept of a main character. I love that so much. That's my favorite meme ever.
Like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch. Stay weird, fam.